Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Leap Morning Leap session for Monday, March the 12th, 2018. My name is Doug McKay. I'm the founder of Quantum Leap Futures. Each morning we get together in these live go-to sessions to take a look at the market, macro, micro, take a look at the structure of the market, and then we drill down to our trade levels, our targets, and our hypotheses for their day. Our hypotheses, we do create multiple hypotheses. These are our trade plans. We create two main hypotheses based on the normal auction, who's in control, buyers or sellers, and then we create two expanded hypotheses for trend type scenarios, of which we've been seeing a lot of. In fact, Friday was a hypo 3 trend day up. Or a gap and go, as we call it. This is a subscription room. If you're interested in checking it out, send me an email at quantumleapfutures@gmail.com. There's no website. There's no blog. This is not a commercial venture. We do everything here in the go-to live during the pre-market session, and then we do live trading and analysis during the course of the trading day. So if you do want to check me out, again, send me an email at quantumleapfutures@gmail.com, and I'll give you the details. Please read through the disclaimer. Nobody at Quantum Leap is a certified trading advisor. We are retail traders operating within a self-organized learning environment. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and the trades you see in Quantum Leap are for education purposes only. Please trade your own due diligence, your own trade plan, and your own risk metrics. Okay, so looking at Friday's results and reviewing it, our main hypothesis was an open auction out of range, a move down into the prior day, and then we were looking for a balanced day and going sideways. Basically, our hypo 1 and hypo 2 were exactly the same, just did we make a move higher first or lower first and then balance out. Hypo 3, though, because it was a gap up, okay, and it was a substantial gap up on the news of Trump meeting with the Chinese Prime Minister, and also because of the NFP news that we had at 8:30 yesterday morning, which was one of the strongest that we've seen in quite some time. So hypo 3 was a gap and go. We were looking for an open test drive or an open auction out of range, and we were looking for immediate move up into the 77 area. 74 to 77, and taking out that 77 target, and then basing, and then going and giving us a probe up into the 80s. Remember that our daily ATR, why do we watch the daily average true range targets up and down? Because when we go into trend scenario, that's a very good destination. When we're in tighter ranges, it's also a good indicator of when we're actually going into a trend. But with the ranges as big as they are, I mean, on Friday, our average true range was 53.20, and we went and hit the target. And then we probed up into the 92s in a late day probe, which I've said would be possible. And again, all these videos are available on my YouTube channel, and you can verify what the hypos were yesterday and see. There's probably a good 3 or 4 years of them up there. So taking a look at the economic data today and this week, don't forget this is quad witching week. Okay, I am talking about the June contract. The March contract is also running right now, but the volume should be shifting over to the June contract, and then it's options expiration week as well, what we call a quad witching, where the futures and the options expire. Taking a look at the news today, we've got 10 o'clock, we've got the CB Employment Trends Index. We've got some French news coming out at 10:30. The 11:30, all these times are Eastern, by the way, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We've got the 3-month and 6-month bill auction, and then the 1 o'clock we have 10-year note and the 3-year note, and then we've got the federal budget at 2 o'clock. Not a lot of news today. Moving to tomorrow, 8:30 will be the big one, core CPI, and real earnings month over month. Then we've got Red Book, and we've got the Canadian Bank of Canada governor speaking at 10:15, 11 o'clock Cleveland CPI, and then the 30-year bond at 1 o'clock. And then moving to Wednesday, 8:30, we've got core retail and PPI and retail sales. 10 o'clock, we've got crude inventory. We've got an ECB speaker. And then on Thursday, we've got the Philly Fed. That'll be a big one. Canadian ADP non-farm. And that's about it for Thursday. And then Friday will be quad witching, as well as building permits, housing starts, JOLTS jobs, Michigan consumer sentiment and expectations. So fairly light news week all around, but there are some important releases. So let's take a look at the macro to micro. Each morning I like to start with a very simple candlestick chart. I do this every day. It's a routine. And Friday was a good example of why I do it. Wrong chart, sorry. So what I'm doing is I'm starting on a monthly, and I use a 9 EMA and a 20 SMA as my moving averages. I don't use them for trading. I use them for studies. But what I'm looking at is I want to look at the different time frames, from a larger time frame down to intraday time frame, to make sure that I understand exactly where we are in context in terms of the trend. Do we have good slope and separation? Is the strength of the trend strong in that particular time frame? Are we coming down and challenging the trend by testing the 9 EMA? Are we coming down and breaking below the 20 SMA and possibly looking at a trend change? This is what I'm looking at. Is price paralleling the 9 nicely? You can see on the monthly, nowhere even close to getting a trend change here. We did, one time frame, our 14 months of one time framing up was violated with the move down in February. We did challenge the trend, but we bounced right back up, and the trend is still very much intact. On the weekly, we did have the possibility of a start of a downward trend, but they took it right back. Then we got a couple inside weeks, and then we broke out on Friday and continuing the trend to the upside, slope and separation. On the daily, you can see that we were starting to get a possibility of a start of a new downward trend, but they took it back. Tried again with those 3 black crows, and then they took the trend back, and we've got good slope, good separation to the upside. The trend is very much intact on the daily. And then going to the intraday, the 4-hour, you can see that we were in this consolidation for the last few days of the week, and then they took the trend back, and then they accelerated on Friday. A little bit of a technical gap here, a move back to the 2782.75. We actually left some single TPO counts from Friday that I wouldn't be surprised if we come back and test them, but the strength and the test into the 2800s. And don't forget, one of the clues that we've been talking about with where the trend is still intact on the larger time frame is a very high probability situation that we've seen. Our Globex, we have what I call a unequalized all-time high. We have a Globex all-time high that's higher than the regular trading, the RTH all-time high. And whenever that happens, okay, it's very, very rare that we leave that all-time high alone in the Globex. Generally, it's taken out in within a few sessions. Sometimes when we see a pullback like we did with that move down to the 2500 area, that it's there's a lot more repair below. It takes a little bit longer, but eventually they will go back up, and they will take out that all-time high. You can take a look at it, do your own study on it, but the probabilities is very strong. So just going down to the 30-minute, see where we are. And coming into the RTH session, you can see that on the smaller time frame, we're getting a possibility of a move down and a move, like I said, a move down into the 80s or even the 70s is not going to surprise me today, even though we've had some strength overnight. So taking a look at the structure, the big picture structure of the market, we had this, I talked about this last week, that I adjusted my microcomposite to the first breakdown day. We were targeting the 50% of the significant breakout candle. What I mean, we broke out of this balance. We were unable to hold value after putting in that new all-time high, and then we get this big move down all the way down into the 2500s. It's actually 25.29 is your fractal low that was put in the Globex, and then we come back up and we create this balance zone with the value area high at 54. That was our a key level, 54.75 for us on Friday. That was our over underline. If you remember on the chart, anything above that, we were looking for the continuation and the move up into the 77, which was where we tried to hold value on our last breakout before falling back inside. Now, of course, we are broken out of value. We're back in price discovery, and we've got some key targets above. One of them being the high of the breakout candle. We've got the 28.10.50 as our initial big picture target, and then the 28.13, and then if we can get above, remember that 18, we were using that 18 as our key line in the sand when we were trading up here. Well, that becomes our key line in the sand above. Anything above that, then we've got a very strong probability of coming up into the 28.31.75 and the microcomposite and the last price we held before we broke down. And then, of course, there is a 2-day profile above. I don't know why it's not still in there, so let me just put it back in there. Up here is on the 2 days of making new all-time highs up at the 28.68 and a quarter. Do I think we're going to get there today? No, I don't. I think we're going to. It's the day after non-farm payroll, the Monday after. Generally, we get a rotational day, and we'll likely be chopping in this area, centered around the 28.88 and the 2800, 2805 down to the 2775 is basically what I'm looking at. So taking a look at the overnight, our week open. Our week open is 27.88.75. We opened up right in the upper distribution. We did get a VPOC shift on the trend day. We were anticipating that we would get continuation because of the VPOC moving up on the close. And what do? We open up, we push up into testing the 27.98 area. That was a level for us on Friday, and basically we were chopping sideways. Then we make the push into the 2800s. They make a couple probes into it, and then they finally broke up and go up into that 2805. And then we've come down in the European session back towards the open of the close, I should say, of the Friday, and starting to move back, trying to find more buyers with convictions lower. So our inventory is, I would say, about 95% net long in both price and volume. Therefore, we're likely seeing some balancing on the open, and one of the reasons why I'm looking for a move down into Friday's upper distribution area and a takeout of those TPOs. One of the things, other things I wanted to talk about this morning, and I don't get to talk about it a lot, is the COT, the commitment of traders. And this is also one of the reasons why throughout that whole downturn I was saying don't get your short hat on too strongly. Don't get stubborn. We're likely this pullback was basically very typical. It was healthy for the market, and the reason being is you could see that the commercial paper has been net short for a while, but the large spec continues, okay, to hold a net positive position, and they haven't gone negative, and that is one of the biggest clues that I use for confirmation in terms of a change in the trend and a move to a trend down. Until the large spec goes negative and leaves the retail, holding the bag, generally the pullback is just going to be a normal pullback, and the trend will continue in the direction that it's going. Yeah, how long can this trend go? I don't know, but certainly it can go for a lot longer than we anticipate. So taking the Globex and start to move our numbers over to set up our trade chart. Our overnight low is down at the 88. Just above our week, or just below our week open. You can see that on the TPO, we do. You want to see a beautiful trend day? This should be a picture of the perfect trend day where we one-time framed, okay, the whole day, right? Except for actually we didn't break the low of the M period. So you can see right from A period on, we had higher lows, okay, and we one-time frame. Now, we did leave some repair work. We've got TPO singles at 63.75, 69 and a quarter, 75 and a quarter, and 86. I've already got them marked on my chart because if we get inside of the prior day, these will be targets based on levels that I put in. Our overnight high, of course, we've put in a new one at 05 and a quarter. And our VPOC, it's really boxy between the value area high and the value area low from the overnight session. If I bring this to the front, you can see very toothy, very boxy, and we could get a Globex VPOC shift down to the 94.75. But right now it's at 98 and a quarter, so I'm going to put it there. Just understand that highs and lows and Globex VPOCs can shift prior to the RTH open because we still have 25 minutes. Well, I'm going long today. Anyway, let's let me put my levels in. Value area from Friday is non-existent. We are in price discovery, but the range high is important. Below it, looking for a move down to test the week open and the naked VPOC and the naked close, all down here in the 90 to 87 area with that TPO count just below it. And then there's another target down here where we spent a lot of time is down at that 84. I'm going to be watching the 80 area for possible buyers to step in. And then the key line in the sand below is going to be this TPO signal down here. If we get below that, then I'm looking for them to come down and take out these two TPOs with initial target at the 77 and then a trade level at the 66. And I'm putting these numbers in because of the fact there's a chance that we could go down there. Okay, and let's talk about why. Our daily ATR, our full session 20 period, average true range is running at 50.55 right now. And off of the high overnight of 28.05 and a quarter, if we take that 50, oh, come on, my calculator just messed up on me, 28.05 and a quarter, and we take off that 50.55, our downside ATR target is all the way down at 27.54. What does that mean? It means that we can move a long way down to the 27.54s before we take out the range, the average true range, the range capabilities that we have with this volatility. And off of the overnight low of 27.88, our upside daily ATR target is all the way up at 28.38.50. What did I do with that? 28.38.50. And we've been hitting them more often than not. Okay, so I've got my downward levels. Let me just work my upward levels. Our key line in the sand is going to be above is going to be that 28.18.50. Come on. Trying to do this quick now because I realize I've gone way over my time. I know I've got to find a way to get these to shorten, but I like to give you the context rather than just the levels and the hypos. And then we've got this 28.09 1/4. So if we get over the overnight high, and we've got 28.0675. And 28.05 1/4 we already have, and then the 03. And then the 99.75 target, which is already a VPOC, so I don't have to draw it in. It's a strong target. And our over-underline. Our over-underline is going to be 27.95 today. And what do I mean by that? I mean that if we're above that, I'm, basically putting my bias to the upside, and below it, I'm looking for the move down into the prior day. So in terms of hypotheses, my hypo 1 is going to be equally weighted to hypo 2 because I am looking for a balanced day. So I just don't know which direction the move on the open is going to be, but my anticipation is open auction out of range, a push down into the naked VPOC, the week open, the overnight low, and this TPO chop here, push down into the 80, and somewhere between the 80 and the 75.25, I'm looking for a basing pattern, and then continuing the auction up towards this 99 and chopping, around the 28.05 to 27.85 and going sideways. That is hypo 1. Hypo 2 is very similar, but I'm looking for an open auction out of range, a push up into the 2800, pop into the 2800, possibly take out the overnight high, but finding responsive sellers and rotating us down, chopping at the prior day high, pushing through down to that 70 to 80 area, 75 to 80 area, and then basing and going sideways and chopping between the 27.85 and the 28.05, and basically getting a balancing day. Hypo 3, of course, has got to be a gap and go again. So we're looking for an open auction. Failure to take out the gap at the 27.88, and then finding buyers early, coming up into the 2800, chopping in the 2800, fighting it, and then buyers taking control, taking out the overnight low and pushing up towards that 2810, and then basing and going sideways with maybe a late day probe up into the 2818. If we get above the 2818 in a trend type scenario, do not fade that move, and you want to be targeting, okay, up here in the 2827 area. And then hypo 3 is an open auction out of range. Failure to get above the 27.95, come down into the upper distribution, chop in this upper distribution, come down to the 75, struggle here, and then fail and come down and push us down towards that 2750 area with maybe a move into the gap zone that we left as a trend day down. So those are my four main hypotheses. I do have a fifth one, but it's not important. And so let's just move over to gold because I'm running way too late. Gold continues to chop around the longer time frame microcomposite VPOC in the 23 and the shorter time frame microcomposite that is at the 19 area in this distribution. We said that this would be likely the two areas we're keeping an eye on for the breakout. Of course, 29, it was 28.20. It is now 29.80, and then that 14. Anything below the 14, we're targeting the 1303 and 1300. And if we break below the 1298, I should say, the big target below is still down here at the composite VPOC that goes all the way back to 2008 and down into the 1284 area. Above the 29, look for the 31, 32 area and 39 area again, and any break above the 44, we get continuation, and the big target above is still going to be up here at 1357. So that's going to complete our pre-market session. As always, trade well, trade safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.